Welcome back to Talking Sense. Today, I've brought Alec from our Conway office here to join me. Thank you for being here. And we are going to tackle the topic of savings. I feel like it's one of those things that people either feel completely empowered about or completely deflated about. There seems to be not really a middle ground. So we were hoping to help you give your savings a boost by giving you some tips that we have found work for us and for our clients. So, again, thank you for being here, Alec. We've spent a good amount of time coaching people on savings.
Yeah, we have spent a lot of time coaching people on it. And like you said, people are either good at it or they're not good at it. It's not like people are really breaking even each month because that's really hard to do. Even if you're looking at your expenses and your income, usually you're at a deficit or a surplus. So it can be difficult. And even, people who are really good about it, sometimes it's not always the same because life happens and things can set you back when it comes to saving.
I was talking with a client this morning during their review, and they usually have what I would consider overfunded emergency savings. And when they were sharing with me some things that had come up and where their emergency savings was now, I was just like, okay. Life happens. But what we're hoping is to give you some things to help you build a habit. And you don't necessarily have to do all of these. We've got 8 tips for you. I'm not saying you have to do all 8, but you could certainly pick 1 or 2 to incorporate for the next 30 days and see how it feels. And then maybe come back and listen to this again and incorporate 2 more. But I think it's really overwhelming sometimes to consider doing a ton of things. So as you're listening, I want you to just go, okay, I could do this one, and make a commitment to do that one for 30 days. So we're going to start with the one that's the least fun, but the most impactful. Track your expenses. And this is one of those things that, again, nobody goes, yes, let me do that. Because most of us know, like all of us know when I start talking about that, there's things that we don't want to know how much we spend on them.
Yeah, you may not want to know, but it's probably good for you to know. And I will say, like, tracking your expenses through a budgeting app, it's not bad. Like, I have friends who go in an Excel sheet and do it manually. That is bad. That seems awful.
Not bad as in a bad thing to do, but it's difficult.
It's difficult, yeah. And I know I couldn't do it going through my credit card, my debit card, and throwing in an Excel sheet. But luckily, you have budgeting apps and finance apps that do it for you. And odds are, with our generation, mine especially, you probably have 4 hours of screen time on your phone every day. You're always on your phone. So just incorporate that. You're like, if I'm going to get on Instagram or Facebook, I'll get on my budgeting app. And
commit a certain amount of time per day makes it a little bit easier.
It does, yeah. Even a couple times a week.
And then the next thing you can do, so you tracking your expenses, that is going to be the most impactful. And I'll share a story. I've shared it before, but my husband will throw himself under the bus and tell this story, so I feel good using it again. When I first met him, he was making good money, but struggling. And he mentioned it to me one day. I said, well, have you taken time to look at how you're spending your money? And he wasn't really sure how. So what we did was we downloaded 3 months worth of statements, and we highlighted different colors because he's a low-tech guy, highlighted different colors for different categories, and then did the math. And he was averaging $800 a month eating out. And I'm talking like gas station sandwiches and things like that. He knows all the people in like the next 4 counties that have good gas station food because he had a job where he drove around. And so by doing that, you can really get a feel for where your waste is. And once you know it, it's a little harder to ignore it, which may be why it's the hardest one to do. But tracking your expenses, that's probably the most impactful. Let's talk about another easy button. And this is something I actually finally broke down and did a couple of years ago, and I am so grateful I did. I have automatic savings. I have money that goes straight from my paycheck to an account that I don't see. Because if it comes to my bank account, it's harder for me to not feel it when it moves. And it's harder for me to be consistent about saving because I have a lot going on, and you do too. So for me, automatic savings, whether it be my retirement savings or my savings for emergencies, has been critical.
Yeah, I think that's really easy to do because it never seems like it hits your bank account, and you never have the chance to spend it. And it causes you to almost, when you're not realizing it, you're going to have to live off less money. So, if you're making $4,000 a month or so, but 1,000 that's going to savings, you're forced to live off 3,000. And if you sustain that and don't have lifestyle inflation where the more money you make, the more money you spend, it's setting up a really healthy habit because, some people, they can get by off 3,000 a month. Some can't get by on 10,000 a month. And they could, but they have that lifestyle inflation of, if it's in my bank account, I'm going to spend it.
Well, and that's why I don't carry cash. If I have cash, it's free money. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's my mentality. I know it's not logically that way, by the way, just in case you're wondering. But that's one of the challenges. If I carry a lot of cash, I will spend it. I'm kind of weird. Most people aren't that way. Another thing, and this is one that I'm going to acknowledge I'm going to have to do for the next 30 days, is auditing your subscriptions. I've done it before in the past, but just the other day, my husband and I were talking about something and we went, wait a minute, I am pretty sure I saw that twice this month. I'm pretty sure we have 2 different Disney Plus memberships.
Oh, no.
Like that was the one that I was like, wait, I think I saw that twice. So there are a lot of easy subscription services. And many of them, the dollar amount is small enough that you don't even really feel it in your budget. So you can accidentally overpay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really easy to cancel them if they're on your phone. Like you can go into your settings, cancel it very quickly, as well as if you get a new credit card or a new debit card and that number changes, that also will cancel them. So it's kind of like a nice reset whenever you do get a new debit card or credit card, because those ones that don't show up on your phone and it's something you don't use, it automatically gets canceled. So that's nice.
Yes. So once you've done that, you've taken time to track your expenses, set up automatic savings, and audited your subscription services. Something else to consider, if you get a refund, invest it instead of making that your fun money, which is what I used to do. Take it and think to yourself, what is the best use for this? Do you have debt that you need to pay down? Have you made your IRA contributions for the year? There are things you can do to be intentional with that, refilling savings, instead of just kind of letting that be your fun money, or at least not all of it.
Yeah, I do the same thing when I get my tax return, or also when I get a bonus from work. That goes towards something productive. It's not just a big toy. So that's
I always allocate 10% of it to fun, no matter what the dollar amount is.
A little bit,
I have to do that because it's like, okay, if I don't do that, then I struggle a little bit. So I'm like, 10% of this gets to be fun money for my family. The rest has to go to a purpose. So next one, and this is something I have to do, shop with a list. And I will say, I even took this to, I often will do pickup orders because once I'm inside the store, I lose all sense of reason, and I will buy things that we don't necessarily even need because it looks tasty in the moment. So that's me. I've had to go to I pick it up and someone puts it in my trunk for me.
Yeah, I'm the polar opposite of you. I have a list in order of the path I take in the grocery store.
Okay.
And that's really helped me because it goes produce, meat, and then like eggs, dairy. And like I've never been in the grocery store for more than 15 minutes. And one of my buddies.
To be clear, he's buying for one.
Yeah, I'm buying for one.
That's a little bit simpler process.
It is, but I've got it in order. Like my grocery bill, it was awesome. It was less than $60 this week.
Seriously?
Yeah, just me. Granted,
that's one meal for my family. You know that, right?
It's different for everyone. But I got a buddy who he was like, "Oh, I got to go to the grocery store," and I was like, "You don't sound too thrilled about it." And he was like, "Yeah, it's my least favorite thing to do." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, well, me and my girlfriend go there and we're in there for an hour and a half. And I'm like, what are you doing for an hour and a half? And
zigzagging?
Yeah, he's like, we have no list. We go in and walk up every single aisle for inspiration of the week. And
then you have to backtrack.
Yeah.
Once you figure out what you want to eat.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you'll go through the veggies, then you get somewhere else and realize, oh, I want to cook this. And you know, when you do that, you're going to be spending way more money. Like if I went in with no plan, I'm like, I got to get meals. I find a T-bone steak and then I'm like, oh, I got to go back and get this and impulse buys. And yeah, so going with the list, you know what you're getting, you know how much it's going to cost, and you don't have impulse buys. That's been a game changer.
And apparently, if you're the one that tends to zigzag and you have a partner that doesn't love zigzagging, it can also help your relationship. So there's another tip for you outside of the financial side of things. Help your partner out and have a list. Next one is using cash envelopes. So I've already shared that this system doesn't work well for me. But for many people who are trying to really get a hold of their savings and their spending habits, these work. And there was a time in my life when things were much simpler that this did work for me. I had done the Dave Ramsey system and we had our little envelopes. I would go into the grocery store with my allocated grocery money. And y'all, I was knowing to the penny where we were walking through that store because I didn't bring my wallet in. That was the way I kept myself from overspending.
That's a good idea.
I didn't have an option but the cash in front of me. So I would sit there with my little calculator as I was going and add it in and then add taxes. And when I got to where I needed to go, I stopped shopping. For many people, that is really beneficial because when you swipe a card, you're not as cognizant of what you're spending. So it can lead to overspending pretty easily. So if you do find that you tend to overspend a lot, using those cash envelopes might be the way to go for you. Don't take my pain and turn it into yours. All right. This next one I thought was an interesting one that one of our teammates had suggested, selling unused items. I am the queen of just take it to Goodwill because I don't want to deal with it. But recently I did get a new watch and I had my old watch and I actually put it on Facebook Marketplace just to see what would happen and was able to get some of my money out of it, which was really beneficial. But if you're willing to take the time to do it, you might have a treasure trove sitting at your house from things you've bought in the past that you no longer need.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who do that. They'll sell stuff on Facebook. And also I had a friend who recently did a huge garage sale. Her and her friend, they did one. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's a hit. You put up signs and you can really get rid of your closet and get rid of old stuff you haven't touched for a long time. I do like Facebook Marketplace. Mm-hmm. One thing, it can be sketchy.
Yeah, it can.
Just a tip, meet in public spaces because
police departments are a great place to meet. That's what I usually do because if they're sketchy, they're usually not comfortable with that. And also another option for that, talking about unused items, I was at a photography class the other day. My Christmas gift that someone gave me was some lessons. And they were talking about these Kodak cameras that are like 20 some odd years old that are selling for ridiculous money. So it's not just new things that you have that you think, well, maybe someone could use this. You might have something that you've had for a really long time and you just don't use. Throw it out there on eBay, see what happens, because there are some pretty interesting things that people, there's a lot of retro demand right now. Mm-hmm. Another thing you can do is take on work. I've talked about this before that sometimes you need to be out of balance for a short period of time to get back in balance. So if you are finding that there genuinely is more expense than you have paycheck for while you're trying to get back in balance, it may be time to consider taking on a second job for a while, waiting tables or something along those lines. Maybe you've got some skills you can use for a side hustle, but letting yourself be uncomfortable for a short period of time to get you out of that kind of ditch faster. And I know, some of our team have done that before. We've talked about that. But, babysitting, photography, tutoring, house sitting, if you're younger and you have the capacity to do that, can all be ways to boost your savings for a short period of time. So let's go back through these and just kind of recap them. First one was tracking your expenses. Second one was setting up automated savings. Third was auditing your subscriptions. Fourth, investing your tax return. Fifth, shopping with a list. And again, that one has the bonus of helping you and your partner communicate better. 6, using cash envelopes. 7, selling your unused items. And 8, taking on extra work. Those are some great tips that you can use to boost your savings. Now, it's time for us to give our last 2 cents. Alec, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, so for my 2 cents, I think the best way to boost your savings is to focus on it and be intentional about it. Whatever you focus on and think about, you're going to get drawn towards it and you're going to get better at it. So don't just keep these on the back burner. Be thinking about it, thinking, how can I incorporate this? And slowly over time, you will incorporate it.
And I think one thing that really helped me when I was trying to build up a habit of savings is I learned not to reward myself with things that cost a ton of money. Sometimes you'll say, okay, well, I met this goal. I'm going to go get my nails done, or I'm going to go get my hair done, or I'm going to go do something that costs a lot of money. Learning to reward yourself with those things that money can't necessarily buy can be very helpful in building a habit of valuing things that don't kill the pocketbook. So I've learned things like going on a hike with my family or going, I love nature, so I'm kind of easy to please with that. Building memories. Those have been the ways that I have tried to replace those rewards that tended to cost more money than my budget could support for a period of time. So Thank you guys for joining us today on Talking Sense. I hope we were able to help you boost your confidence in saving for your future. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review so others can find us too. Thanks for listening to Talking Sense. And if you like what you hear, make sure and subscribe to the podcast to get all the newest episodes. The Gym Wealth team is available to you 24/7 at info@getreadyforthefuture.com or by calling our offices at 866-653-PLAN. That's 866-653-7526. And while we like to have fun here, we're also financial advisors, and that means disclosures. You should personally consult a financial advisor before making any investment, and no strategy can assure success. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Independent Advisor Alliance. Independent Advisor Alliance and Gym Wealth Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.